to basic programming. You will learn the basics of programming using Visual Basic.net. At the end of this course, you are expected to learn the rudiments of programming, and you should be able to write and develop a simple and functional application program. I will be your course facilitator. My name is Samuel. Thank you.
Hello, you are welcome to this course CSC 111 Introduction to Visual Basic Programming. I will be your course facilitator, and my name is Samuel Fadikwe. Now, what are we learning? What is our objectives for this course? First, you will need to understand the Visual Basic Integrated Development Environment, that's IDE. That's understanding the Visual Studio 2010 IDE. Then you learn how to build a simple yet functional Visual Basic application. Then you should be able to run your first application. So what is programming? Programming is the process of developing and implementing various sets of instructions to enable a computer system perform certain tasks. These instructions are considered computer programs, and they help the computers to operate smoothly. Now, in our next video, we understand the basics of how to start your Visual Basic 2010. Now, let me quickly take you to how to start Visual Studio. Now, from your menu, just locate the Microsoft Visual Studio icon, or you go through your Windows programs, then Microsoft Visual Studio, if you have it installed on your system already. So on my system, I have about 5 different versions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, but I'm going to use Visual Studio 2010 for this class. Now, once you locate the icon, just click on it, and your Microsoft Visual Studio starts. So it's loading, so we have to wait a little bit for it to prepare the ground. So it's loading to contents. Then now, so we have started our Visual Studio now. So to start your Visual Studio, just go through program files, then it starts the Visual Studio by clicking on the Visual Studio icon. So, but some may have the shortcuts on their desktop. So if you have it on your desktop, you can achieve the same thing by clicking on it. But if you are using Windows 10 like my own, you can actually drop it somewhere around there simply by dragging it. Like if I want to make this Excel appear there, I'll simply just drag from there and drop here. So I have my Excel shortcuts already placed on these shortcuts windows. So the same thing with Visual Studio or any other application you use frequently. Now, this is the first interface you encounter when you start your Visual Studio. So let me quickly explain what you have on this screen. Now, starting from the top, you have the icon of Visual Studio and the title at the top, Start Page, Microsoft Visual Studio. So we have various menus that you make use of as you are developing your application. then toolbars that you can actually remove or add from. So this toolbox will not be activated until you have started a project and you are in designer mode. Then your Server Explorer gives you a list of servers or data that you have connected to on your system, the ones that have been activated. So, and if you are also on a network, you can also go through all the servers that you have been connecting to. So now, from the start page, you have new project. That is if you want to start a new project, open project. If you want to open an existing project that you've been working on, then recent projects, those are the projects you have worked on recently. About 10 will be displayed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So as you are starting other projects, the last one here will go, the new one will come up. So here you can have access to resources that will guide you on how to do various things with Visual Studio. Now, latest news, if you are connected to the internet just like I am currently, you have access to news, latest articles on Visual Studio. Then the Site Explorer, like the toolbox, will not be active until you have started a project. In the next video, I will take you through how to start a project.
In the last video you just watched, we were able to take you through the various means of starting Visual Studio, how to start. Now we are now going to the serious business, and that is how to create your project. Happy viewing.
Here we go again. Now we are looking at how to create a new project. Now from your start page in Visual Studio, you can create a new project in one of these following way. Click on new projects. When you click on new projects, the dialog box will be displayed. Now you have the new project dialog box. Now depending on the type of project you are creating, you choose the options from this install template pane. So because we are dealing with window application for now, which is also the default for Visual Basic, you can leave it as it is. So window form already selected. Then you give the project a name. Let's call the project first lesson. Or let's say week 1 lesson. Week 1 lesson. Now, if you look at the location, this is where my project will be stored. But you can choose a new folder for it. So let's browse. To student project 2018. Let me create a folder called ODLRI. So that's where my project will be stored. Now I can give it a name, ODLRI. So I select the ODLRI folder just created. So I click OK. So the system is preparing the project, and that is it. We have created a new project which is called week 1 lesson. And once you create your project successfully, a default form will be created for you automatically. That is all you need for now. We meet in the next video. Thank you.
Wow, wonderful. You can see that it is so easy to create your Visual Basic projects. Now we are now getting into the details. So the next lesson is understanding the Visual Studio environment. Let's go.
Before we continue with our lesson, let me briefly take you through the Visual Studio 2010 environment. So I want you to understand some basic things about Visual Studio environment. Now, a window to the right of my screen here is called property window. Property window is probably the tools you use more often than any other tool we have here. What are property windows used for? It is used to view and set properties of objects. Now, if you look at the properties here, you have name, accept button, scroll, back color, back image, and the like. So you can scroll down to view properties. As you can see, this is text. This is text property from 1, and that's what is displayed here. So if I change anything here now, let me say from X, that X will display here as soon as I accept it. So you can see from X. Now, if you look at this window, you see other tabs below. The next tab there is called Solution Explorer. Now, in the Solution Explorer window, all the objects, as in form, classes, and the module that you create that is associated with this project will be displayed here. For now, we have just one form, and that's why we have form 1. The other tab there is Theme Explorer and the class view, but we'll go into the theme and class view later. Now, to the left of my screen of the IDE is the toolbox window. Now, the toolbox contains all the objects you may think of that you will be using in the course of your application development. So the common ones are the button, checkbox, checklist, combo box, date picker, label, text box, web browser, calendar, list box, and the like. Now, another tab below here is Server Explorer. So here, the Server Explorer gives you overview of all the data connections you can have or you have on your system, and all the servers associated with your system. Now, above here, we also have toolbars that contain some of the commands that you will be needing from time to time. Like if you want to run your program, if you want to debug, if you are saving, cutting, formatting, so all the commands you can think of. Then finally, the menu bar. So here you have all commands are embedded in the menu. So if you are testing your application, you are changing your architecture, you are doing data, team view, building your application, adding control or form to your project. Then you remember in the last video I said there are more than one ways to start your project, to create a new project, but I only use the start page alone. But here you can also start by clicking File, New Project. Though I'm not creating a new project now, so it's just to tell you that aside from the start page, you can also start from File, New. So you can create new sites, save from, close. So these are all you need for now in the Visual Studio environment. I see you in the next lesson.
Great. By now you should be familiar with the tools that you'll be using from time to time in developing your application. Now we are going into a little details about the objects that you'll be using while building your application, and that is changing the characteristics of objects in your applications.
Welcome back to our video lesson for week 1. In this video, you'll be learning how to change characteristics of objects. Almost everything you work with in Visual Basic is an object. For example, a form and all the items you can place on a form to build an interface, such as combo box, button, checkbox, picture box, text box, rich text box, are all objects. There are many types of objects, and these objects are classified by types. For example, your form belongs to the class of form objects, while all these items that you can place on a form belongs to control objects, or you simply call them controls. Also note that it is not all objects that have a form of physical appearance like we have in your form and all these controls. Some objects exist only in codes. Now, clicking on anywhere within the form will reveal the properties for the form. Now let's inspect some of the properties of this form. We have the name properties, we have the back color properties, we have control box properties, icon properties, text properties, and the likes. We will be using this form as an example for how to change properties of an object, and we start with the name change. Now, to change the name property of a form, what you do first is to click on that form, then examine the name property, then give it a name that best describes what the form will be performing. Now, we've not even discussed what our project is all about. Actually, we are designing a picture viewer application. So let me give this form a name, FRM Picture Viewer. Now, if you look at my naming convention, I start with FRM to indicate that this is a form. So I change the name of this form to FRM picture viewer. Now if you go to Solution Explorer, you see that the name of that form remains Form 1. This Form 1 is actually the name with which the form was saved on your physical machine, on your hard disk. And you can also change the name here by just renaming it to reflect a name change. FRM picture viewer, so that when you are looking for it on your hard disk, you will find the same name. So now let us also change the background color of this form. Let me see. You can actually see different colors in the drop down combo. So you can pick either from system, from web. You can browse to get your favorite color. And let me just choose a simple color, and you have the background change. Next, I want to change the icon for my form. So just browse through your system and you pick a suitable icon there, and so the icon on your form will change. The last property I'm going to change is the size property. If you inspect here, you see that my form is 300 by 3 in both in length and height, so I can extend this one to say 600, and you can see the immediate effect by 600. So, but I can also change the size property simply by adjusting the edges. You see that automatically the size property has changed. I can adjust the width, I can adjust the height. That will be all for now on the lesson changing characteristics of objects. I will see you in the next.
We have just learned how to change characteristics of objects, and we're able to give our form a name. We are also able to change the size of that form by adjusting the length and the breadth, and we are also able to change the background color. The same thing you've done for the form, you can also do for other controls. Now in our next lesson, we will be adding controls to the form and actually performing the designing of the user interface for our application. There you learn further how to adjust properties of objects.
You're welcome back to the continuation of lesson for week 1. Now in this lesson we will be adding control and also design our user interface. Like we have said in the earlier videos, objects that can be placed on a form are called controls. Some controls have visible interface which a user can interact with, whereas others are always invisible to the user. We will use both for our projects. So for our picture viewer application, we will add 2 button controls, a picture box and a picture box and an open file dialog. We'll first of all start by adding the visible controls. There are 2 major ways of adding a control to a box, or to a form, sorry. The first is by double clicking on the control you want to add to the form. So let me double click this button to demonstrate the first. Now double clicking added this button to my form. The other method is to click and then you draw your control on the form as I'm demonstrating now. So you can see we have two buttons already placed on the form, so I can move my button and adjust the properties as I deem fit. Note that if I move this button around the form, the properties also change. Note this location 30497. If I move, you can see that the location has changed. So that's an example of how to change a property without actually going to the property window. Now let me move these two. Now I want them to be of the same size, so I click on button 1, button 2, and these commands are active, and I say same size, and I can make them align the same way. So I'll be changing some other properties for the button. Let me start with button 1. I'll give it a name, BTN select picture. Then I change the name property, text property, to select picture. Then for button 2, I'll give it a name, exit, and give it a name, BTN exit. The last visible control we are adding to the form is the picture box. Now double click, then I drag to adjust the property.
Double click, then I drag to adjust the property.
So the next thing is to change the name of that picture box to pick.
So the next thing
show
is to change the name
picture.
Of that picture box to pick.
Then I change the border style to fixed scene. So going back to the text boxes, command button, I can select the two and change a common properties for them. Let me look at their appearance. Pop-up. The effect of that pop-up is that anytime I hover my mouse over it, it pops up.
Anytime I hover my mouse over
it pops up. Before I forget, remember, collecting our previous lessons, we changed the text property of this form to form X. Now let me change the text property to reflect the purpose of the project.
Now let me change the text property to reflect the purpose of the project. Picture
viewer. So you save the project to reflect the changes you made. So that will be all for now. No. I still have to place the invisible control. So the non-visible control that I'll be adding is the file open file dialog. So this is open file dialog. So whether I double click or I drag, it won't still be visible here. So look at it placed there. So it's open file dialog. So I'm going to quickly set one or two of the properties. The first is the name property, OLD select picture. So for the file name, I leave it empty, so I delete that. Then for filter, I type in this Windows Snap. .bmp jpeg file style.jpg. So the title for my dialog will be select picture. So now I have all the controls on my phone. This is just how to design a user interface. So we just design a simple user interface for our application. So before I close this video finally, this filter property is actually used to limit the types of file that can be accessed with the select with my open file dialog control. So I'll see you in the next lesson. Thanks for listening. We have seen how easy it is now to change the properties of your control, and also how to add control to a form, and also to design our interface. Now the last thing to do is to now write the code behind your interface, so that all those controls will be able to function for the purpose it was designed for. Our next video will demonstrate how to write code for the application. Currently our application looks good and nice, but it won't do anything, and I can demonstrate that by running this application. Running means I want to compile it and convert it to an executable. Let me quickly do that and you see what I mean. Now here is my application, picture viewer app. As you can see, as I move over my mouse over the button, it pops up. Now I'm clicking, now nothing is happening. The simple reason is that there is no code behind it. Now let me terminate the application to demonstrate how to write code for our application. So you can either stop it from here or here. Now the first thing we need to understand is that for our program to be capable of performing tasks and responding to user interaction, we have to write codes for it. Visual Basic is an event-driven language, which means that code is executed in response to its events, and the events might come from the user or from Windows itself. The event for Visual usually involves something like clicking, double clicking, or mouse hovering over an object. So for example, if I double click this select picture, it will fire or trigger the click event. Now to write a code for my select picture event, I will double click it. Double clicking will open the code window. Now if you observe from the right, the property window is now blank. So now we are to write event, we are to write codes for this picture click event. in order not to delay us, I have already captured the codes that I want to place here in my clipboard. So all I need to do is just paste. But really, you have to type everything yourself. So let me explain this line. This is not an executable line. It's just a comment that shows that what this block of code will do. So this one shows the open file dialog. Now if remember that OFD select picture is the name of this picture viewer. Sorry, our dialog box. So if OFD select picture does show dialog is equals to dialog result.ok, then load picture into the picture box. So to load picture into the picture box, we have to access the picture.image property. That's show picture.image property. If you look at the image property, there's nothing there. And assign the image we are picking from the open file dialog picture box. So if the name of the file is in the form capture, then do this. So we are through with our instruction for this button. Now to quit our application, we double click on this and write code for it. And what do we really need here is just to write something like me dot close, and this command simply closes the form and terminates the application. I'll see you in the next class. Well, we have just written a code for the button click event, for the button you need to use in selecting your image and also to close your application. So we have done a complete application, and the next thing to do is to show you how to run your project. Welcome back to our final video lesson for week 1. So what we are going to do is simply to run our application. Now I've already demonstrated that by clicking on this start debugging control, but basically to build the application you come to build, then build solution, and if you look at it, it has built the solution. Why? Because we don't have much code. And now let me run the application to demonstrate that we have developed a very functional and working simple application program. Let's start. Now this is my picture viewer app. So if I click on select picture, you can see the select picture dialog is up. So I can browse through my folder and look for a nice picture to display. Let me see. Though I have a picture display, but because of the property we didn't set, so the picture is larger than the picture box, so we couldn't really get the image. So let me quickly make some adjustments by terminating this program, and I'll set the properties right. Now let me quickly go back to the picture control and I look at the size mode and I change it to stretched. I save the project, I run the application again, select picture. You can see that the default here is window bitmap, so I don't have a bitmap image here, so let me change it to JPEG. So I can now, let me select the same picture I selected earlier, which is this, and there you go, and that is your instructor. And we have come to the end of the lesson for week 1. Exit. Thank you. I'll see you next week. God bless you. Wow. We have done justice to this topic and we've built an application from scratch. So in conclusion, you have just created a bona fide Windows application and learned the basic rudiments in building interface to interact with your program and the likes. So you need to understand that the most complicated application you see around are built using the simple fundamental approach we deploy in this lesson. And writing code, developing application, making them work exactly the way you want is not as complicated as you think, but it can really get complicated anyway. But you are on the right path. See you in the next lesson.